Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another great show with your boy Rico No Suave, the heart of Hollywood magazine. We are back, and I am back. You are back. We're back together, everybody. Man, I am so happy to be back with each and every one of you. Man, did you miss me? I missed you too. Yatusali, I missed you all, and I'm so happy to actually be back with everyone. For everyone that's just tuning in for the first time, we're all about this interview series where we encourage and we promote nothing but positivity for influencers, the entertainment industry. We got actors and actresses, directors, producers. We got musicians. We got influencers, man. Did I say that already? Influencers. Yes, people that influence. And I love it because it's all about the entertainment industry. But I hope you guys are ready for a great show. You already know because this is episode number 7. Yes, this is episode number 7. If I skip one, just play along with me. Just play it, forget about it. Just play along with me because that's what we do here at the Heart of Hollywood magazine, having a great time. I have to introduce this gentleman that's coming in. Man, a really great friend of mine, but he's been hitting the world with nothing but hypnosis. He's also a guy that will take you to one area, then all of a sudden you're in a different area and you have your mind just blown away in regards to what you've been missing. This gentleman has traveled around the world, and I have to say, he's very energetic. He's kind of like me. Yeah, I mean, I like this guy. Forget about it. I love this guy. I want you guys to stand up. I want you to look him right into the eyes because he is mesmerizing everybody. His name is Israel Mandrake. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let me bring him in. Is he there? What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I'm good, man. I'm good. You ready?
About time, man. I've been looking forward to this, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey,
you
know it's always
to see you too, dude.
Yes. I'm happy to have you here, man. You know, it's going to be a nice 30 minutes of fame, baby. Nice 30 minutes of fame of me and you on a Heart of Hollywood magazine interview series, INC. We are so ready.
Yeah, and every time we do anything together, brother, it's always gold. And I'm feeling a little bit feisty tonight, so I'm ready to go, man.
Let's get it on.
Ready.
Hey, so, you know, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to you. You know, Israel, there's a lot that actually comes with you and a plethora of accomplishments that you have made. But the one that we have to talk about is that journey. How did you start into hypnosis? Talk to us about that.
Well, you know, it's wild, man. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because both of my parents, when I was growing up, they did one thing that to me stands out more than anything. They always did Christmas. That was number one. They did Christmas so good, so well, so beautiful. But then they put me into martial arts at 11 years old. At 11 years old, by putting me into martial arts, I learned through the beginning was kata, prearranged fighting technique. And I started to realize that every single time that I would go through these movements, that I would go into what I know now is trance. But what I was going into was automatic pilot. And I didn't realize until many years later that what was called martial arts was actually hypnotizing me day after day, building character, building posture, building focus. Now, as those years go by, the one thing that had changed is I started to realize that that kind of hypnosis, in other words, repetition, emotional repetition, repetition with focus, which what hypnosis truly is understanding the psychology of how that works. And, you know, it's really wild because, well, you know, man, we've talked about it before. Whether someone knows that they're experiencing hypnosis or not, it's just a natural state of the way we download information, you know? And so the way that I started originally, granted, was martial arts. In the year 2004, I started studying an apprenticeship with a man named Dr. Scott Lewis. And that's when it all changed because I originally went to Vegas, but I spent 11 years in Vegas. And when I went to Vegas, man, I went there for one thing, and that was to be a mentalist, right? And I followed that dream. I pursued that dream. But being in that town, I saw this guy perform, and it changed my life. I went to go see his show. And even in 2004, when I was watching it, I watched him hypnotize 30 people on stage. He had been doing it for 7 years, night after night after night, inside the Riviera Casino. And
Mm.
he wanted to become a mentalist. And for me, I saw hypnosis in a different way, because not only did he do stage, we left that day from the stage to his clinic, where I watched him help people stop smoking, lose weight, different things like that. And then it was
Sure.
right during maybe the first couple weeks that I met him where we made a trade. I said, I will teach you mentalism, which, for anyone who doesn't know what mentalism is, it balances two things. There's psychological trickery for entertainment, but then there's also the real psychological influence and psychological subtleties to make a good show. But as we see it, like when we watch NBC and we see The Mentalist, we see a detective. He's using the same techniques, the same influence techniques, but in his particular situation, or the character situation, he's of course doing forensic psychology. So
Wow.
So that was the origins, and was, dude, and it's crazy because he would get on television and I would watch him present his book. Now, this is a long time ago. Granted, it's only been about 20 years or so. When he was on TV, that's back when hypnosis was still kind of taboo. Now, with the internet raging like it is, people, executives, when I talk to executives, athletes, they all know what it is. And even then, Tiger Woods used hypnosis. Michael Jordan used hypnosis, all the way back to the Olympic trials in Russia, all kinds of cool stuff. Like hypnosis is now becoming something that people truly understand.
Would you
And what they
say,
don't, yeah.
yeah, let me ask you a real quick question, because you're hitting some really great points in regards to how your journey was with getting into the mentality piece of things. How did it work with you when it was more of a focus? So when you're focusing on something, or
Mhm.
if you're kind of like, I put myself in a zone sometimes of meditation, right? To
Yeah,
make sure that I
absolutely.
relax, I understand myself, right? And then I say, okay, it's time for me to reduce my nerves, right? And I need
Yes,
to
sir.
relax. When it comes to something like this, as far as a focusing piece or from a mental
Right.
standpoint, how do you actually help people, or how did you help yourself to actually focus with hypnosis with that?
Well, if you now, I left a piece of the story which is very open, and that is 11 and a half years in Vegas. When you spend 11 and a half years in Vegas as an entertainer, one thing that happens is you start picking up on things that hypnosis can definitely help. For me, it was partying, it was doing all kinds of things that I needed to shift and get, mind, body, and spirit back into a balance. So
Sure.
for me, I started learning self hypnosis from martial arts all the way to therapeutic hypnosis to rebuild, as of now, from head to toe, every behavior, every thought, every pattern. But when I'm working with a client, and here's what's really, really crazy. If I feel that a client doesn't understand hypnosis, I do something else. I do coaching, but I'm doing covert
Right.
hypnosis until they begin to feel it. And when they know it's safe, and as soon as they feel that it's safe, and they know that not only is it safe, but they go, hey, wait a minute, I understand it, and I understand exactly what it is because I feel it every day. I just didn't know what the hell that was. So
Wow.
I remember the first time I ever went back in my mind and really remembered seeing hypnosis is when my father would drink coffee. And in the morning, when people are tired, they kind of stare off into the distance and that cup just kind of hangs there.
Yes.
This would be called catalepsy, when the arm is just kind of hanging there and their eyes are
Yeah.
just kind of looking off into the distance.
Yes.
Every human being goes through that. At that point, our brain waves go from beta to an alpha wave. And it simply puts you into catalepsy, and it puts you into a state where you're very suggestible. Now, as you go a little bit deeper, you become more suggestible. And in that process, that's when you can do a lot of the healing work, or, again, depending on who's utilizing it. If the military's using it, they're utilizing it to turn someone into the best soldier that they can to keep them
Right.
protective under the scrutiny, etc. Right. And then
Right.
for healing, like when you're working with an athlete already has their, they have their shit together. They're already on it. They've got everything going. But when you
Right.
take an athlete, they usually are off on just a feeling, an emotion, a precision movement, right? And
Right.
to get them in
Uh-huh.
that flow state, athletes go into that every time they're playing. You can't play basketball without, the moment that hand touches the ball, you go into basketball mode. You
Right.
start behaving the way you did when you were a kid playing basketball, right? And
Yeah.
all those pieces
Yeah.
come together. And like we talked about before,
Yep.
you're an excellent professional dancer. And
Yep.
when you go to dance, The moment I've watched you go into a room, the ballroom that we spoke about last time, when you
Yes.
went in and you started to dance, everybody's on autopilot. There's no thinking. It's passionate momentum, and
Yeah.
everything else is recorded information that's been conditioned and been conditioned for a positive outcome, which is badass dancing.
Yeah. Hey, that's one thing that I really love about what you're focusing on, and it's
Mhm.
something that we focus on as well as human beings. And when we talk about hypnosis, just like my man Howard Wiggins just said, I've done hypnosis and it works for me. And I think what happens is that when you get into a zone or whatever that you're at, for example, if you're in IT and you're troubleshooting something, you kind of get
Yes.
into that hypnosis of only focusing on the problem to make it right. Right. And I
Right.
think when it comes to something like that for you, I'm catching that hypnosis, we do it all the time. We just don't realize that we're actually doing it, but we might not be doing it in a professional way. Of you as a hypnosis will be able to show us in regards to what is a better way for you to actually I wouldn't say hypnotize someone, but basically looking into, hypnosis, bettering yourself each day. Would you say that could be a
Yes,
possibility?
and it is. If there's one thing that, I mean, and you can see when I'm doing content or anything like that for social media, my main goal is to give people tools. So if they're even this much scared of it, or if they're all by themselves and they're in a terrible situation, they remember a couple things, and that is anything that we're repeating over and over in our mind. We do it linguistically mainly, or with words. But a
Yeah.
master of hypnosis is a master of metaphor, because our brain and its story that we're living in is
Mhm.
trained by metaphor. And when somebody
Mhm.
learns how to take metaphor, understand a person's story, calibrate how the person is feeling and where they're at with the proper psychology, you can take a person who has been wrecked for 30 years and step them into a new world where they become kingly again or queenly again, and they can step back into a world where for the first time everything is back. They've got the reins again. They're not out of control anymore. A lot of my
Wow.
clients that I work with, optimize333.com is where, for me, that's where, I call it optimize 333 for anyone who, which I get asked a lot, what is 333? Let's just
Yes.
consider it to be mind, body, spirit, and a perfect plug-in when you are aligned to what we commonly call God, but what the Chinese would call qi, or information that is aware of you, and vice versa, right?
Nice.
So, and each culture's got a different understanding of that, and that in itself is hypnosis. If you go to good congregation, a good speaker, a good teacher, a good leader, all of them are using hypnosis. If you tell a good story and a person sinks into the story, they're
Yes.
technically going into the movie. They're going into hypnosis. Now, if you tell a
Wow.
story to 30 people, 30 different people are experiencing a different story. So, how does a hypnotist speak to a crowd of people in a positive way to make massive change? And the answer to that is ambiguity in linguistics. Okay, ambiguity in linguistics, but to be able to calibrate and to be able to lean into the psychology necessary to get the team aboard, or to get the executives that are butting heads to all get along, right? Or for the
Yeah.
procrastinator to all of a sudden have an aha moment where they go, never again. And they can't anymore, because
Yeah.
procrastination now has been associated to something that they find, and let's use whatever word that would be negative to them.
Right.
If they're a person that is, it's going to sound funny, but how could you use a phobia? Say, for instance, if somebody is afraid of anything, I'm not going to say anything specific because I'm
Spiders.
going to keep it general, but say you have a fear and that person wants to change one thing in their life. If you associate their problem to that fear, they have a tendency to no longer want to get near it for some reason. And it's
Correct.
unconscious. They begin to
Mm.
wonder how they made that choice so easy. And it wasn't a choice, it was an association, therefore a neurochemical choice.
I have to say, the type. Big shout out to James Dunn checking in. Beatrice Davis also said hello, Israel. She says he
Much
knows
love,
me.
Beatrice. Good to
Yes,
see you
and then
guys.
Kim King says, what is your favorite type of hypnosis to practice in your business? That's a very good question, because I was kind of where I was actually going with everything you're referring to in regards to having 30 people on a stage and actually like hitting them as far as with this wave of hypnosis to be able to try to get everyone on the same page, or a certain amount of people on one page and another one on another with the hypnosis. So in this type of business itself, if you had 30 people, what type of hypnosis would you call that you actually teach or perform?
Now, I always call, especially in front of a group of people, I refer to it as positive life change hypnosis.
Okay.
Because when they hear the words positive life change, it changes the meaning of what hypnosis might have meant before. So that way they can get into a state where they can let go and feel it, right?
Yeah.
As soon as we go to do it. Now, the answer to the question that was asked about what is my favorite kind, if I'm working with groups or teams, I will take the whole group and honestly get them to forget. And I don't mean by hypnosis, meaning just by playing and having a good time. First, forget there's a problem. Get them into the place where there's only a solution and make it funny and playful. So all of us kids wearing costumes as adults can look at each other and for a second lose the adulthood and go back to where real stuff is made. And that is the stuff that was in the first 7 years of our lives when we were in theta. First 7 years of a child's life, typically, they are in theta. So a lot of things that happen before the age of 7, it doesn't just become, it literally becomes the being of that person's experience. But my favorite utilizations for positive life change hypnosis, Optimize 333, for instance, the company, is all high performance. So if I'm working with a group, I only have one thing I'm after, and that is for them to absolutely shine in what they're after. But number two, not only to be able to get what they're after, but to be on autopilot with their abilities, unbreakable confidence. And confidence translates as competence meeting being comfortable with that. So being comfortable in a place of competence means been there, done that. And if they haven't, we can make them start to produce chemicals where they feel as though they have. Wow. So that neurostimuli of triggered synapses, or should I say, a lot of people call it triggers these days, but it triggers are now associated to negative ignorance on social media and stuff, right? Or just how people treat each other on there. You know, I was triggered. But to take the word trigger, if I'm working with, say, for instance, someone who shoots, triggers a positive word. So for them, the metaphor might be as you stay focused down the barrel and pull the trigger, feel how it triggers you to become an accomplished shooter in the competition, right? Right? But if I was talking to a group of people, say, for instance, let's just say youth, people in their late teens. If I'm speaking to them, words like triggered, I don't even use. I use the word anchor. We're going to anchor something because that's what keeps the boat on crazy waves and keeps them in stillness while they figure out what the hell's going on. So if they don't feel safe, you know, words like trigger are no good. So linguistics play part of it, right? Obviously. But beyond linguistics, people are reading another piece that is the unconscious piece, which is how do they feel about the individual that's speaking to them? How do they feel about the environment they're in? So I used to use a lot of times when I was working with, first let me answer this question. What is my favorite kind? Optimization only. Because if someone has trauma, PTSD, any of those things, does not matter. The only outcome is optimization. To get rid of something is one thing. When someone says, I want to stop smoking, well, great, we're going to stop smoking, but that habit will be replaced with something that optimizes their life. Right. You know, never, ever will I take away a habit and just leave it hanging, because then it will be filled unconsciously, and that's when damage can happen to that person on their own. Right? So, thank you, brother.
You my guy, man. You my guy. I love you, bro. I love you, man.
I love you,
man. You know, this is, I mean, we could talk for hours in regards to, hypnosis, in regards to your journey and how you got through you went through the jungle in order to be able to stay focused to get to the end of the jungle and say, hey, I know what I'm doing now. I know exactly how to optimize and also help people have a strategy to get over one bad habit to make another positive habit come into play to overcome that. And you have definitely accomplished that for what we just heard, everyone in the audience, right? That is amazing.
Well, and one thing that I got to say too, man, is that like all of us, any good dance teacher had to make a ton of mistakes before they could show people at a level that you do. You got to, and for me, a lot of what I do with people now, I had to do to myself first because the opposite side was happening. I was in the hypnosis of Vegas. I was in the hypnosis of the world I've come from leading up to it. So,
Sure.
and granted, very thankful spiritually for all of it.
Yes.
Now, those scars are exactly what helps me be able to help people. And I can look them straight in the face no matter what. They could ask me anything under the sun. And if that couldn't help them, I would let them know. But I have never ran into that because every human being that says, I want to, that means they're already willing. And is they could just step over that. They're always capable. I
Yeah.
never met one person that isn't capable, that has the courage to go inside and do the repair.
That's one thing that's very important that you said that in regards to I want to, because I want to also can help to I need to, right? And I think that when you
100%.
say I want to, it's just a point to say, hey, I want to stop smoking, and then you flip it around to them and say, you need to stop smoking, right, for better health, right? I think that's really cool that they said that,
100%, man. And that's the craziest thing is that when I was talking about emotion being the real catalyst for that to work, when somebody said, anytime anyone says they want anything, it no longer becomes the thing they're after. It's the why they want it that makes the emotion to be able to do the psychological warfare internally necessary to get them to their greatest,
Yes, sir. We got to move on, man, because we'll talk about this for hours. So everybody, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself. You already know we got my man Israel Mandrake, the hypnotist, I want to say in spirit with us. Yes, he's in spirit virtually with us. Yes, sir. I have to ask a couple questions because we're like almost 18 minutes left of our fame, sir. It went by fast. So NLP Mind Coach, is that kind of part of the hypnosis track that you've actually been in? And what does NLP stand for?
Neuro-linguistic programming. Okay. Neuro-linguistic programming goes all the way back to Dr. Richard Bandler and his partner, but I want to say something really important about it, just so the people who are listening can truly understand it. Those three initials, NLP, really translate as the study of human excellence. And the people who created it, they weren't looking to just come up with a system. They were after one thing: how to look at someone who is not just successful, but who's someone who's at the absolute top of their game. How to take someone else who does not have those qualities, and by using the procedures and the outline in the model or the meta model of this individual and help that get into the other person. That was their whole study. Their study began as that. Now, neuro-linguistic programming is a term that people use consistently in many ways that doesn't mean that at all. And like all language, obviously, it gets bastardized over, as it gets spread, but it's really wild. NLP coaching, to me, is giving people tools after hypnosis for them to take into their normal life so they are always self-hypnosis. They are living hypnosis, they're feeling it, they're aware of it, and NLP, or human excellence tools, we'll just call it, right? Getting them to take care of themselves in a way where just knowing they have something new in their tool belt, I like to call them secret weapons. I like to weaponize everything I do because in the society that we're in and we've seen for the last couple of years, we know that it's probably a good idea to weaponize our healing and weaponize our awesomeness and weaponize these tools so we can help each other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you know what I mean?
I like that. I like that. NLP, baby. That's right. NLP. Mind coach. I like that, man. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, with neuro-linguistic programming tools too, the big secret to Optimize 333 is that I'm always calling it NLP, but I'm throwing in a lot of my own stuff. Right? Always. I just call it that so when people do research, they can go, oh, here it is. But because if you call it shamanism, it's a little bit weird to some people. So if I'm working with an executive, I may not mention shamanism, but shamans were the original psychologists.
Okay.
Because what did they do? They were the
Yeah.
healer of the village. The shaman is the
Okay.
healer of the village. And the healer of the village was usually somebody who, in our world, we call it metaphysics, it would be metaphysical. But realistically, it was the person who was born and built to be responsible for the immune system of the tribe. And on a bigger level of the universe that we're in.
Would it be considered as a doctor?
Yeah, it would be there. Now, when we use terms like medicine man and stuff like that,
Yes.
those things were in certain villages, and it's a term that crosses over. But the
Yes.
shaman, the ancient shaman of most, would dance, channel in the spirit, and call the spirit. Now, what is that for real? Like if we just say this, if you're dancing, and all of a sudden you have a famous dancer that you love, and you get up on stage and you start dancing, and you feel that person embody you, and you're dancing their moves and their feeling. That's what the shaman did. For people who don't understand the invocation of spirit, let's just call it the appreciation for the archetype they're transcending to the people they're healing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. I like that. That's a good vibe. I always call it a connection. I call it a good vibe connection. When if I'm ever dancing or if I'm ever talking to someone like yourself, I have that vibe, it's a good vibe to actually have. So we're 5 minutes, we're 4 minutes until countdown. Woo! We got to talk about what we really love. Now, the travel piece, the traveling, right? Yeah. Because you traveled around the world. If you just let the audience know you traveled and you performed, what was your favorite place to actually perform at? And how many people did you perform for?
Okay, well, this is what's really wild. I'm going to say what I'm about to say is going to be probably quite shocking, because after Vegas, after touring, after a lot in the US, and blessed to do a few other things that have been really nice overseas and everything, I got to say it was not a lot of people, but it was people who spoke no English at all. They spoke Tagalog. Right?
Yeah,
and when we were in the Philippines, I was in the Philippines with Zatori Films, right? Zatori Films, which we all know, Zatori Films, Chicago-based film company, right? Amazing sci-fi horror film company. When we were there, I had spoken to a handful of people when we were out in the public. All of these people, no English at all, just watching and being able to perform things that were hypnotic, magical, right? And that had messages, metaphors that were in there. So people who could not even speak to each other, because I think there were a couple other languages that would have been there, eclectic crowd. But when it was going on, they began to communicate, just like the shaman. They took on the archetype of what I was doing, which was the bonfire healer. I was showing them a small parable, symbol, idea, and made it into a big symbol that when they went home, they went, aha. And hence that is the shamanistic side of it. Giving someone a metaphor that changes their life. And they have to go into shock or to see something that's surprise. So what I was doing was hypnotic effects, a little mentalism, right? And then I went right from there into when they went into the moment, I downloaded some very positive information that when they got back home, it should be in alignment to the things that they were after in their life and the things that they love and believe, right?
I love the Philippines, man. I love the food. Big shout out to all of my Filipinos.
Yes.
I love the food, man. I love the energy that they also bring. They love to sing. They love to dance. And I think by you going out there to actually perform, because they love performers as well, too, in the Philippines. And it's really big. It's really big out there. But I have to say that by you actually doing that, that is awesome. And you just touring around the world. But the Philippines, that's a shocker. And that's good without you knowing Tagalog.
Well, anyway, I did have to learn a little bit of Tagalog. Salamat po.
Oh, my bad.
But when I was there, we went through Hong Kong also, right?
Oh, wow.
But I've got to say, probably one of the other best was even in Vegas, when buses would pull up, and those buses would be of people from other countries, right? And they are looking at Vegas. They're walking into a city of lights, and to do that, and laughter is always the best gateway into hypnosis.
Of course.
When people are laughing, it's emotional, and it can be downloaded in a beautiful way. So,
my man, hey, I'm down to my last 1 minute, but I think my 1 minute is almost up. But
I love you,
Israel,
brother.
I had a blast, man. I had a great time with you today. It was
Likewise,
awesome,
brother.
man. Optimize333.com is where you'll be able to find more information about my man Israel. You call him Izzy. We call him Izzy, Israel Mandrake. Do you have another social media handle that you would like people to get in contact with you?
Israel Mandrake, and that'll be Israel Mandrake. And literally, as of right now, check out Positive Life Change Hypnosis on Optimize 333, and also check out my optimization. Now, the high performance sessions, a lot of pros. That's where I'll work with a lot of, from athletes to executives. But if you're just going through PTSD or just messed up and want to get everything back in alignment, check out Positive Life Change Hypnosis. So, much love, everybody.
I love you, bro. Keep
love
doing
you,
what
brother.
you're doing. Everybody put your hands together on man Israel Mandrake. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon, man.
Cheers and happy holidays, everybody. So,
yes, sir.
Love you, brother.
Love you too. Thank you, man.
See you, man.
That was my man, Israel Mandrake, everybody. I hope you guys had a great time as far as on the show with us today. It was such a great time on the Heart of Hollywood magazine. I am your host, Rico No Suave. Yes, Rico No Suave, and I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Don't forget, everybody, to make sure you share this video. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to come on over to Facebook on Heart of Hollywood magazine. If you're on Facebook, make sure you go to YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Heart of Hollywood Media. Make sure you go there and make sure you subscribe, everybody. But until next time, next week, everybody, we have an Iranian American musician. Her name is Faranak Sharuzi. Will be on the show with me next week. Same channel and same hype energy. All right, everybody. I will see you guys next time here on the Heart of Hollywood magazine. We'll see you guys next time.